Welcome back to Off the Rack Rebellion, the podcast where we talk about costuming and how to take everyday finds and incorporate them into your everyday cosplay. Kate, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you? It actually legitimately has been a while.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it
It's
to
it's so
anybody
nice to
else,
see
but
you.
it has been a while. Yeah,
Yeah. We're back.
yeah, and we just had 1 week of a break, right? I think
I
we were
think
able to
y-
just skate past with just 1 week of an
which
actual
is
like
pretty good. I
listener
know.
break.
But we miss you all. We miss you.
Yeah. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about bags and pouches, an
Yeah.
essential, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think about bags and pouches? Do you like them? Do you not like
I,
them?
I do. And I'm always like, I I I have a lot of bags and pouches in my real life. I
Hmm.
feel like it's the same as footwear. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a lot, but it seems like there's always a different one for a different scenario. They're really important when you're going to Batu. They're really important when you're going to a convention. They're really important when you're
Hmm.
just running to the grocery store. And so sometimes those all aren't the same look, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, or
I've been
size.
a big proponent of the tote bag as of lately. Not in a
Mhm.
cosplay sense, but just as a on a personal level. Um, Plastic bags aren't really like a big thing here,
Yeah, yeah,
which is
yeah,
great. So a lot of people
yeah.
take their own bags, or sometimes you can buy a bag, say if you need an extra
Mhm,
hand or whatever, but they're reusable, like they're really thick, like reusable ones. So I also have
mhm.
one of those that I've tucked into my uh,
Nice.
uh, tote bag,
Yeah, yeah.
just in case. But I love that because I went back to the States and everything is put it in a bag, you know.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because you were in Texas, yeah? Like,
And
yeah,
everything
like
is put it in a plastic bag.
definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want this in a bag, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
don't want it.
Yeah, no, when I go home to the Midwest, it's the same thing. Because here in the Pacific Northwest, we're very much like, you have to pay for the bags and,
Hmm.
like, all that stuff, so it's the tote bag culture here as well, which makes me
Right.
think, like, the first example I think of when a with a really good Star Warsy that you can just grab, at least where I'm at every day, is those netting bags. Those
Yes.
crocheted cotton, like, they're
Yep.
hanging at the co-op, they're hanging it right, and, like, I found a
I
couple
mean,
at
I think it's
Goodwill.
called a grocery bag, right? Or
I
like a
think so.
produce bag,
Yeah, I think it's a
sometimes it's
produce
called.
bag, yeah, and I
Yeah.
know a few of the Mandos use them, like, kind of with their gear,
For helmets.
and it's such for helmets, and it's such because I have one that is pretty big. It's actually in this
Hmm.
closet right here with a bunch of my stuff just stashed in it, and I think
Yeah.
those are because you could use it just for the grocery store and then grab it when you're running to Comic-Con, right? Like
Absolutely.
and it shows off what's in it to get
Hmm.
that texture and that, like, especially if you've got your helmet in it or something like that, so that you don't have to hide it away, really. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that those are fantastic.
I've got one for my merchant that I'm like
Yep.
stuffing full of just junk parts.
Yes, yes.
I took apart like a rotary tool, like a Dremel, for like
Oh,
sanding or whatever, that didn't work anymore. Well, obviously it's from the States, and I tried to connect it here using
okay.
an adapter, and it just fizzled out immediately. And I
Oh,
turned it
gee.
on, so I was like, okay, well, time to take this apart and see what's inside. And
Woohoo!
it
Parts.
looks like a cool, like, I don't know, engine part or something.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. That's really cool.
that's in there. So it's good
Yeah,
to like those net bags to like show what you're carrying, especially for a
yeah,
character like that, where it's like you're
yeah.
a scavenger or something. You want
I love that. Another nice thing about them is that the ones I've gotten anyway are cotton. So if you find one
Mhm.
secondhand and you're like, well, it's not my vibe, those are really easily dyeable. You can
Yep.
stain them up, you can dye them, like you can do some fun stuff with the texture. I
It's
like
also
those.
really easy to throw in if you're dyeing something else. Like I did a
Yeah.
bunch of canvas bags while I was dyeing the pants that I dyed over the break, and I
Nice.
just threw in a bunch of bags because I had them with
Yeah.
me, and I was like, let's
Yeah.
see what happens to these.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes. So I think those are really like if you are at Goodwill or something like that and you see one, snatch it up. Those are handy
Yeah.
because they're actually kind of expensive, at least at our co-op and stuff like that. I'm like, really, you're charging that much? It's cotton, people. Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Especially
yeah,
if it's a heavy one and it's a
yeah,
big one, then it
big
gets a
ones.
little pricey.
Yeah, for sure. So what
But
else do
those are
you
good.
prefer to use with your looks, like for bag wise? What do you
I
go with?
like um I like canvas bags. I
Yeah,
like canvas bags because I like to then customize them. I have a small
yeah.
little canvas bag that Ian has as well. He has the same bag.
Yes,
This
I know
was
what you're talking about.
like way back when, was one of the first pieces that I was when I was like, you know, showing off like, hey, look what I found on
Yeah.
the internet. And, you know, I roll my name on it in Arabesh and everything.
Nice.
So it makes it a quick and easy thing that you can kind of customize either with paint or with like a Sharpie or
Mhm.
something.
Right, yeah, the Sharpies work really well on those cotton canvas. And then they wear a little bit. I like that. So,
I like that look that it sort of feels like it's old immediately,
yeah.
because it sort of seeps into the fibers rather than sitting on top. I feel like when you paint, sometimes when you do an acrylic paint on something, it looks like it sits on top rather than seeping
Mhm.
in, and you kind
Mhm.
of want that seep in look. And then after a
Yeah.
while, yeah, you're right. It keeps wearing and it looks
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. A nice thing to do with those is a little sandpaper too, if you're, like, really looking to get a little bit worn. Like, there's something about, like, sanding like, cotton canvas. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like all of you who are doing paint that, like, love to peel things off, I like to, like, take a little sandpaper on my cotton canvas, and it, like, just makes me feel real good. It's so weird. But it's like there's
Just
some
fray out the
tactile thing
edges a
about
little
that.
bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Or like if you do bust a seam, I've had a couple because I like try to get a lot of my stuff secondhand, so a lot of it's coming off
Hmm.
Poshmark. And like even if a couple of them have had like a little bit of the trim didn't get stitched on quite right, but it's
Right.
fraying, and I'm like, I don't care. I actually want that, and somebody's selling it because it looks like that. I'm like, the
Exactly.
irony is that I would just do something like this myself.
Yeah, give it to me like that
Right? Yeah,
already
yeah.
because
I'll
it
take it. I'll
shows like
take it.
real world wear. Because sometimes you
Totally.
can't match that as well. If something just
Yeah.
happens by chance, like
Mhm.
that's how it
Yeah.
would have worn,
Yep.
right?
Yep, and I
So
know a
yeah,
lot
it's
of you who
perfect.
do weathering with your hard goods are constantly thinking
Hmm.
about like, well, where would the wear be on this, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
and I do like it that those bags get, especially like the bottoms get really scuffed up. Like I have a I have a messenger bag that it was in the closet. It was supposed to be taken apart and used for like Ray's bag that she has in
Right.
the second movie, I think. So whatever episode that is. And I never got around to it. And I was just looking for a bag for a trip or something. And I had some patches and things from different friends that have made them. And I was like, I'm gonna
Hmm.
put them all on here. And I just hauled it out of the closet and like threw some patches that or some like chunks of different pants I had cut up and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like those cotton ones are really nice and you can hand sew things. So you can really
Hmm.
like weather them. And it was already off of eBay, so it was already a little bit worn. And God knows it's gotten more worn as I've traveled with it, right? Like it's just like, I don't care. I just toss it wherever, and that helps the weathering. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like that.
I think in Star Wars, like I think there's a wide range, and we're going to be talking about a lot of sort of wide
Hmm.
ranging kind of things where you
Hmm.
can really get individual, and there isn't a set standard for bags. I
Yeah.
feel like we see a lot of different kinds of bags, and
Yeah.
you just mentioned a messenger bag,
Hmm.
which is definitely something, over the
Yeah.
shoulder. You've got the strap coming down. It kind of
Hmm.
gives bandolier a little bit to
Yeah.
your look. And then, you've got somewhere to put
Yeah.
your stuff. That's seen all over the place, which is
It
great.
is. Yeah.
Those can be
Well,
found in canvas and leather. Yeah. Which I've got.
yes. Oh, yeah. I love a leather one. Ooh, dear Santa.
Yeah.
Put that on the list. Well, you mentioned bandolier and like one bag look, pouch look that I absolutely adore. Top to bottom, the whole look of Poe Dameron in Rise of
Hmm.
Skywalker is
Hmm.
phenomenal. But that like
It's a good
band,
one.
like those ones across his chest. Do you have some of those? Somebody I know
I
has some of those
have
pouches
I have a bunch
that kind
of
of go
I have
across
a
the
bunch of
chest.
pouches, and
Okay.
I do slip them over to a lot
Yeah.
of my bag,
Okay, because that's what I'm thinking about
straps.
looking
Yeah.
for, is something that I could, like, line up on that strap because I really love
Yeah,
that look. Yeah, yeah, like some little module ones that you could put on a belt or you could put on a bag or whatever you wanted at that
exactly.
time. Okay,
Yeah,
add that to my
and
to-do
you can
list.
stop them from moving um, by using like a small safety pin or something in
Oh, yeah,
between
yeah.
them. It'll stop them from sliding around.
Yeah, okay.
If you want them, like, I want my bag to be
Yeah, like
down to the right, but I want
chest
the
level.
pouches to sort of stay
Yeah,
chest level. You can use that as a trick to stop them from moving around.
okay.
Otherwise, it'll just go to all the way to the bag, and that's another look as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah. I feel like that's another one that would be super handy for Batu when you have a million things that you want to be like, especially if you're there with your kids. Like I always like
Yeah,
the times I've gone with my family, I like pack like I'm going backpacking because I have a child with special needs and at any moment he's gonna need something. And I'm always
yeah.
like, where's that one thing? I feel like that bandolier look would be real handy.
I
So
I always laugh because my most we're going to pouches, but like my like most like legit looking pouch, which I got from Total Closet Nerd, and it's like stamped with like the Rebel insignia. It's a
yeah.
beautifully made pouch, right? And it's a
Yeah.
really good size as well. Is always just full of like my freebies and stuff. So
Nice.
it's like my most official looking one. Like there should be something, I don't know,
Yeah.
something in there, some kind of splody or something in there. No, it's full of like, you know, stickers and
It's all
some of
your
my
goodies.
relics and stuff that I always put it in that because it's like it's big, it's you know, it's sturdy, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
easy to get in and out of. So
Yeah.
while
Totally.
we're not carrying around like a bunch of explosives around Batu, like you don't want to do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you fill them up full of goodies, like that's use for them as well. I always
Right.
find it a lot easier than carrying it in, you know, in your pockets or something.
Totally. Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, and that's what when you and I were on bed too together that one time, I wasn't expecting the amount of things that people were going to hand me. And that night I
Right.
got back to, and luckily I had a cargo vest on and I got back to the
Right.
hotel and I was like taking stuff out of all my pockets. Like, oh my God, there's something else in here. Cause like someone would hand me something, I just shove it in a pocket. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
like
definitely. You
if
have
you're
to have an
meeting up
empty
with,
pouch
yeah, if you're
and you
meeting
have
up
to
with
have a
other
full
people,
pouch.
I actually bought one from a company and now I'm blanking on their name. I've got them in a post on my regular Instagram page, but like I bought like a ditty bag, like a stuff sack from a company
Yeah.
at Helsicon because
Oh, I
I like
saw
it's
that.
so oh yeah, that
Oh,
orange one. Yeah, the Rebel
it's
one.
such a cool design.
It's a
Yeah.
cool design and it's really classic, like orange and white. And so I was like, yeah, that
Mhm.
feels like it could have been like an official, like,
I love
like
the shape of it. It's just such a beautiful like
yeah.
design. It's such a
It's
beautiful
like
shape
a
to it.
it's like a dry bag, like if you're kayaking or something like that. It's like but
Right.
it's made out of more it's a like a nylon, so it's lightweight. So I was
Yeah.
totally like and that's why I'm just keeping that's why I'm kind of transferring all my like little goodies too, because I've
Yeah.
got like it's halfway full from Helsicon. So it was like, yeah, that's I mean, I was like, yeah, I could use it to like toss in a messenger bag if I am going somewhere with my own things to give away or something like that. And
Mhm.
it does look very, very rebel leaning. I'm tempted to
Yeah.
stain it up. It's kind of sad, but I've thought about, that like getting
It
over
takes
that
a
like
while,
hump
doesn't it?
of
Like
like, oh, okay, I'll stain it. Yeah,
eventually it'll get
totally.
like a scuff on it and that'll be your green light. You know,
Yep.
when you get
Yep.
something and it's new and you want to keep it nice and then finally you spill something on it and you're like, it's go time.
Totally. Totally. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. The other bag style that I think is like really indisposable, both in my real life and in the bounding, is that hip bag, the quintessential hip
The
bag,
hip
right?
bag. The
Like,
hip bag.
yeah,
I've got
the
my
the cotton
reservations
ones.
on that hip bag.
Yeah, do you? I
Well,
feel
it's
like
but I think it makes perfect sense on Batu because it's in
yeah.
place of a holster and a
Yes, and I
blaster.
was about to say the
Like you
same
can't
thing.
wear them. You can't
Yes.
wear
Yep.
even an empty holster
Yeah.
with a banana in it.
Yes.
Is that a reference? I don't know. Um, you can't like you'll get in
Yeah.
trouble if you wear
Mhm.
even an empty
Absolutely.
holster. So I think that is a perfect dupe for it.
Yeah.
And people have done like amazing things in their actual cosplays with them.
Yeah.
It was something that came from, I don't know if you ever saw that TV show that it's sort of like a kids game show that was hosted by Ahmed Best, the voice actor for
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
uh,
think I saw it.
what's his name
For Jar Jar.
for Jar Jar. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Ahmed Best hosted this thing, and I forget the name of the show, but it was kind of like almost Legends of the Hidden Temple. Am I dating myself with
Oh,
that
yeah, okay,
with
yeah,
that
yeah.
show?
Yeah, all those amazing game shows that we had on Nickelodeon in the early
Yes.
90s where
Oh
there was
god.
always slime.
Always slime, always something, a rope to swing on. Like I
Oh,
always
yeah.
just wanted to swing
I
on a
always
rope.
wanted to
And
be on one of those shows. Oh my
so it was
gosh.
a show similar to that,
Okay.
which is great that one appeared after so long, right? Because they don't
Yeah.
exist anymore.
Yeah, so
And the
sad.
kids were wearing, they all had one. And I think it's
Okay.
maybe part of the show. Maybe they had to like carry something or something
Okay.
like that. So it makes sense. And
Yeah.
in a way, it's,
Yeah.
it's in the
Okay.
universe.
Okay. But so I guess my
It's
question to you
fine.
is because I haven't really noticed, is it nowhere else in the universe except for like, is it not really authentic? It's just something we've adopted.
It's in that show, Jedi Temple
And
Challenge.
Jedi
Thank you
Temple
so much, Reddy.
Challenge. Oh,
I knew it
yeah.
was something like that, and it's Legends of the Hidden Temple or something like that.
Yeah.
Jedi Temple Challenge. It's a
Yeah.
great, it's like a fun show. If I was a kid, I'd want to be on that
Mhm.
tomorrow. Um, and I don't think we see the same kind of like hip bag. I think we have
Okay.
seen hip bags of another
Yeah.
sort of ilk,
Okay.
but not that one. There's a very specific like size and shape of one that's sort of
Okay.
going around in all different materials and canvases
Yeah.
and leathers and whatnot. And I think my gripe with them is that they all look the same,
Yeah.
So it's there's you lose the individuality there and it
Mhm.
starts to
Mhm.
become a bit uniformy. So I think it's
Gotcha.
only in that show and then
Okay.
obviously only on Batu. It makes
Yeah.
complete sense for
Yeah.
Batu Bound if you want to look like you've
Totally.
got a blaster on your hip.
Yeah. The ones that I have, they're by a brand called Alasky Wear, not Alaska, Alasky. I think it's two eyes.
Okay.
On Etsy, and it's more like an extra cargo pocket. Like, it literally looks like a
Okay.
cargo pocket that you're, like, strapping on, and
Yeah.
I started wearing them about this time I started really getting into Batu bounding, but it was because I was wearing a lot of leggings or, like, comfy wide leg yoga pants that didn't have pockets, and I had a
Right.
kid that I was, like, running around the neighborhood
You
with because
needed
he just
something.
go anywhere, right? Yeah, and I needed something, I was like, "Oh, an extra pocket."
It makes a great
So
supplement to like a park bag. If you've got
yeah,
like a
yeah.
sling bag and you've got one of those,
Mhm.
then you're pretty much covered. Like
Totally.
so it
Yeah,
makes complete sense.
yeah, yeah,
I understand the fervor for them. I understand why they exist.
yeah, yeah, totally.
And I think
Yeah,
I have seen people like use them in cosplay to like a great degree.
yeah,
Like so
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it can be done.
Yeah, definitely. I think my most widely used bag is my wax canvas roll top backpack, though. I
Hmm.
love that thing, and unfortunately, the
Yeah.
company, they were based here in Seattle. They have switched names and switched designs, so they're much more, like,
Mm,
kinda posh looking, and I'm kinda heartbroken because that bag is so cool. It's wax canvas and leather and some metal, and that's it, and
yeah.
it weathered so nicely, like,
Yeah.
it's just gorgeous. Unfortunately, it is one giant big cavern.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it
so
just
there's no
reminds me,
there's nowhere to
yeah, there's,
put
like,
like
one tiny little pocket on the front, but, that's okay. I guess there are 2 pockets for water bottles, but that's it.
yeah.
But it's so nice that, talking about, like, material that weathers really nicely and tells a story, like, if you can find waxed canvas, anything, gorgeous. It's so nice.
Or wax it yourself.
Wax it yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I use a great wax. I was gonna look it up. Um,
Nice.
and I use a great one. It's used all over like costuming,
Okay.
not only in Star Wars. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Um, and it's called I'll get back to you. It's That's not what it's called. I just ordered another one because you can only get them in the States. Here you can get it in a
Oh,
different form, and I don't
okay.
like it. Otter wax.
Mm. Otter wax,
It comes in
yeah.
a little bar. Yeah, it comes in a little bar. I
Yeah,
prefer the bar
okay,
over like a more liquidy or cream kind of
okay.
application. Um, I feel like the ones that have that maybe have different sort of ingredients and additives on there to
Mhm,
keep
okay.
it kind of like butter that's like
Yeah, like in a
spreadable.
different
That's not
state.
real.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
margarine as opposed to stick, right?
real.
Yep.
Yeah. So it takes a little bit of time, but it does really work really well. It not only gives the canvas or leather or anything that you're waxing a great look right off the bat, but it'll
Yeah.
also sort of pick up some stuff because obviously it's it's a film that you're putting on so over top. So if anything gets on it, or if you add anything to it, it then gets really sort of embedded, which is great.
Okay. Okay.
If you're weathering anything, here's a tip. If you're weathering anything with like watered down acrylics or like dirty down spray or anything like that, do that first and then wax, because if you wax it, then nothing's going to stick.
Yeah, it's repellent. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And that is the surprising thing, is that bag, even though it is canvas, it stays pretty dry inside. Because it's got the wax coating, which I really like. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, people do that to their pants. I mean, the Mandos will wax their flight suits and everything. It's a trick that's used by many, but was definitely driven home to me by Left Coast Adventure by Luke from our friends over at Dad Batch podcast, of course. When I asked him long ago, I was like, how do you look so good? I was like,
what is
how
your
do your
secret?
Mandos look so good? And he's like, wax. You got to wax. You got to wax.
Well, and it comes from, I believe it was a practice in the Old West with, like cowboys in cotton dusters on the backs of horses, right? Like they needed to be waterproofed. And they look good.
And everything. Oh, they look real good. They look real good.
Right? Yeah. If you see anybody in a big old Western coat, oh God, they're gorgeous.
So what else? What other kinds of bags? So I also threw in here slightly different, but kind of the same, but sling bags and backpacks. You touched on your roll top backpack. I think both also really work in leather and in natural sort of materials. My little leather barrel bag, I adore. I've got a second one tucked away somewhere, so that as soon as that one is ripped to pieces somehow, I have a second one on the go.
You've got a backup.
I've got a backup because I found them once and I couldn't find them again, and now they're popping up in those weird sites. So I don't know if I got scammed, and like because I got mine off Etsy, and like I think they were drop shipping.
Gotcha.
Because I found them on those other sites for like $5, $7. I paid like $40 for it, and I'm like, did I get ripped off? But I've gotten 3 of these.
Or is it the flip where they've stolen the images and now they're like selling that product, but it's not that leather product too? Because I know that happens as well.
Yeah, I don't know, because what I ordered was a leather bag and what I got was not leather.
Oh, okay, there we go. There we go.
It looks like it's that quality. So,
Gotcha.
I wish I really want to at some point. I've got the patterns and everything, but I'll put this out in the universe. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I would love to replicate that little barrel bag in full leather or in different sort of iterations.
I know somebody whose ears are going to perk up when they hear that. I feel like anytime I feel like you talk about leather working with Liam, I feel like there's a little putting that on the list.
Or like I have this dream for like a really like thick canvas one that that holds its shape and everything, and being able to sort of stain and dye that in ways that give it a design sort of on the sides.
Nice.
We'll talk, but
no, I like that.
I would love to replicate that small one.
Yes.
It's a good enough size that like I always take it with me on vacation.
Okay.
So I stuff it with like my phone, my sunglasses, sunblock, any other sort of little bits and bobs that we need for poolside or beachside, and it's great. So it's gotten a lot of like weathering from just being around sand and water.
Yeah, I was gonna say the sand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's probably shells and stuff like that in it.
Yep. Oh, I've got a few bags like that where it's like, there's still like sandy debris from the ocean or lake or whatever. And I'm like, oh God, it's never going away.
A little barrel bag. And by barrel, I mean like the round duffel,
Yeah, I love
when
those.
you start getting into like the square duffels, it gets a little too like weekender bag, maybe a little too doctor bag, and it starts to pull it away from in universe. But that round barrel bag, because there's so many like round barrel-y shapes in universe, like the backs of stormtroopers, they have that little round thing, and anyway,
or even like just barrels. I feel like there are just like rain barrel-y looking things, right? That are like, every time I see a rain barrel for sale in my neighborhood, I'm like, I want that.
I want that so bad.
Like, I just want this rain barrel in my yard. I don't know if I'd hook it up, but
Yeah.
no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I've got
Yeah.
a leather one that I don't use enough that I really should use more.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good look for sure. I'm trying to think
Someone
of what.
posted in the chat like a sort of a medium sized kind of like I think it fits a 14-inch laptop
Oh,
leather barrel bag, and
ooh, nice.
my mouth watered and my eyes
Yeah,
widened, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, do I need
yeah.
another
Right.
bag? Like,
I know.
and I think I do. I
I know.
think I
See,
do.
it's like they're like shoes. It's so hard. I guess so many bags. So many bags. Well, actually, for this last trip, oh my gosh, I guess the bag I should definitely talk about is like from this last trip to Batu East for our photo
Mhm.
shoot with HoloScan Database.
Mhm.
Um, it was definitely trying
Amazing.
to look really earthy for that character, and I was like, what? And it took me all summer, and Ian and I had
Yeah.
been chatting. Like I was like, okay, I'm looking for something. I'm kind of thinking of this. Like any suggestions? And like we rolled through a couple different ideas, but went back to my original idea, which was like a basket bag. And I eventually found
Okay.
these. They're actually pretty common on eBay. They're from Korea, and
Mhm.
it's completely made out of organic materials. So it's completely made out
Yeah.
of like a rattan and there's like a bamboo
Oh,
base at the bottom, and stuff like. And then I was like, but I wanted to build off of it, so I found like this box at Goodwill that had some bamboo on the side and all that
yeah.
stuff. But it was like just using some straps. But it was definitely like, yeah, I wanted to look like so denizen-y. I wanted to look so
And you
so
did.
earthy.
I'm
Thank
pulling
you.
it up
Yeah,
now because I know
yeah,
I wanted to talk about that because there were some cool
yeah.
things happening
It
in
was so,
that
and it was
book.
definitely adding because the lid was just another basket that sat on top of the basket. So I attached that onto the back with some leather, some like leftover belts. I think we talked about that in the belt episode. And then the front, I had some, for a clasp, I had some pieces of an old ski helmet, like there where the webbing comes
Okay.
together at your chin. And so I
Yeah.
just kept those. So I like sanded in
Perfect.
the hotel room with a nail file. I sanded the Skiff logo off like that
Oh,
morning. I was like,
perfect.
oh, I
Yeah.
forgot. I gotta take that off.
You gotta get that
And just
off.
like some
Especially,
bungee.
yeah, especially for the photo shoot. You were like, I gotta get
Yeah,
this off
yeah. Oh, I
now.
know. I was like, oh, I gotta get this off real fast. But that was just I wanted it to be unexpected, but yet something that would blend into a market scene in
Yeah.
Star Wars. And that basket bag definitely did it. Not waterproof, definitely not, definitely a little damp that day, with a hurricane
But
coming.
I think it'll add to it, especially because it's
Yeah.
bamboo, rattan,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Yeah.
Like it'll expand in some
Yeah.
places, might crack in some place, like
Yeah.
split
It
in some
it
places.
held
Like,
up surprisingly. I was a little
yeah,
worried, but it did hold up. Because
but it
I
works.
took the original, so the original straps were even woven reed some sort of material, and I did remove those and I put on some webbing straps with carabiners,
Yeah.
to be wider, to be able to displace the load better. And what I missed is I should have gotten a sternum strap, like a removable
Right.
sternum strap, and I forgot at the last minute, and I was definitely like my shoulders by the end of the day. I was like dying
Oh
because it
no.
was really heavy. But it was super fun to like put together something like completely Frankenstein that thing. Like the
Yeah.
pouches on the side for my water bottles were, I
Yeah.
think something, what are they from, like army rucksacks, right? And like so I just sewed those on. Yeah, so like it was fun to kind of cobble something together and to use a material that I don't have any other basket bags like that, right?
Yeah.
Like
And also
I've got some that are
mixing the materials, I think
mixed
really,
materials.
really pushes it
Yeah.
into,
Yeah.
scavenger. What are they going to do? They're going to find a piece there, find a piece here,
Totally.
find a piece there, and put that
Yeah.
together somehow into something that's functional
Yes.
for them. That's like,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, it reminded me
Um,
not necessarily the design, but sort of Ray's bags that she has that are like,
right,
there's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of that. Yeah.
right. She's using what she can find.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good spirit on that
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
bag. It looked
Thank
amazing.
you.
That looked
Thanks.
amazing. Not that we're here to talk about it, but I was like, I heard that you had split the sides of those pants that
Oh,
morning or that day or that
yeah, that morning
evening
at
or
like 5
something.
o'clock in the morning. Yeah. When I was like
What
worried. Oh my God.
what a spark of genius, because
Oh,
that
really?
just
Okay.
like I think that completed the look.
Oh,
It was so
good.
unexpected, and then I
Oh,
saw
good.
that one shot, you're sort of crouching down and you could see it
Yeah.
like open, and then it like, it's closed at the ankle but then like
Yep.
open. I was like, oh, she's done it
Yeah.
again.
'Cause I oh, thank
That's
you. 'Cause
why that's why
I kept
you are where
trying
you
to
are.
find something, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll make something." I just ran out of time, and then I was like,
Yeah,
"Well, I could always just split up the side and just, sew
yeah,
something," and I did. I just sewed some scrap material around the bottom,
yeah,
but it was literally at 5 o'clock that morning in the hotel being
yeah.
like, "Oh
And it
my
would have
god, what am I
worked.
thinking? It's Florida, I'm
It
gonna be
would have
hot," and then it was
it would
raining.
have worked without the split, like, but
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
like, it's just such a great design choice. That's such a
Thank you.
great styling and design choice. Yeah.
Good.
We're talking about outfits again.
Oh, I know, no, we slide into that. So
Okay, not
bags,
to
yeah,
bring down the mood, not to bring down the
yeah.
mood, but I do think ripstop nylon, the shiny
Ooh,
kind. That's
mhm,
always like
mhm.
it's I struggle with this because sometimes
Yeah.
there's like those ads for like those tech wear
Yes.
companies, and tech wear is very cool. Okay,
Mhm,
I get it. Like,
mhm.
it's super cool, but it's
Good
all like
lines.
shiny
Yeah. Yes.
nylon, that
Yes.
ripstop nylon, and it kind of doesn't go
Yeah.
with the
And
aesthetic.
and not that Ripstop doesn't, but it's Ripstop cotton that we see used, right,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
And
It's
that
cotton that we
those
see.
little pouches that I sewed on the side of that basket bag, they actually are backed in that Ripstop nylon, and I was like, "It's so small." I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, "I'm
Sometimes you
just
can
gonna
get away with
just
it.
gonna
It's not
squeeze
like
that
a
in there. I don't know if anyone
yeah,
will notice." But, yeah, I think if you had, like, an entire poncho or entire windbreaker or an entire
or
bag,
a bag.
it
A
would
whole
show.
bag that was that like
Yeah. Yeah.
it gives a bit of gym bags. A lot of
Yeah.
gym bags are in that sort of
Yeah.
material, so it kind of
Totally.
takes it out just a little
I could
bit.
see that.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I f I feel like I feel like if that's all you've got, like you found one at Goodwill or whatever, and it's your favorite, thing you found and you're headed to Batu, try to stain it up, I would say. Because I
Yeah.
feel like if you're trying to stain it up with something, you're trying to rough it up, that might take a little of the sheen off.
Yes.
Um, yeah, or like really wash that sucker.
Yeah. No, I
Like try
agree.
to stuff
Yeah.
that up, and it could help, but I get where you're saying that it does take it, and I know this is talked about in the Burgundy Squadron chat a
Yeah.
lot, like, it's one of those materials that kinda takes you out of
Yeah. And
the
what's
the
funny is that
vibe.
it frays kind of beautifully, which
Mm.
is
Oh,
which is kind of like the upsetting part, because
kinda
if
kills
you
you a little
get
bit.
like yeah, because if you get a rip in it, or if you do it yourself, it
Yeah,
frays really nicely. It
yeah,
adds a lot of
yeah,
texture, but then like, the fibers themselves are very shiny. They've got a
yeah,
sheen to it, and it kind of
yeah,
that's, it's not really
right.
used.
I see
Um,
that, yeah.
I think I've got one last thing on here, but
Okay,
I don't know if I want to
alright.
go into it. But like,
Ooh.
because this will lead us into our
Oh,
next. This will
okay.
lead us into our next episode. That's the
Ooh,
only reason why I
yeah,
put it.
chat about it, 'cause yeah, let's
Yeah,
chat about
this. I think, like, I think Greeblies on bags are maybe not the way to go,
Okay,
especially like a transponder. I think you can
okay,
add some stuff. I tend to I tend to focus on the straps and things like that. If I'm going to add some kind of hardware, I'm saying
okay.
that in air quotes, like,
Yeah,
to it, because that's where we do see it. In universe, Cal Kestis is a good example of, like, sometimes he'll have things that are strapped, and then along the strap he'll have some kind of hardware,
okay.
some kind of metallized,
Yeah,
device or something, or it could be even be a closure, but we don't ever see it
okay.
as a closure or something like that. Um, I think I think this is what happens, and it's something that happens to, I think, everyone, right?
Yeah,
Is that you you get a new bag, you love this new bag, right? You get your new bag and you're like, I want to make this Star Wars. You hyper focus on this bag and you want to Star Wars up this bag. And
okay.
then you get a cool pair of pants, and you want to Star Wars up those pants. And then you get a hip pouch, you want to Star Wars up that hip pouch. And then you get a hat, and you want to Star Wars up that hat. And then the vest, and then the jacket, and then everything. And then all of a sudden, like, it's all way too like busy, right?
Yeah.
I always try to keep in mind the entire look. That's why sometimes I sketch in flats,
Yep.
and why I sketch outfits, like garment sketching is what I call it. Like
Yeah.
um, sketch in flats and sketch in on myself to get a read on like what the whole of the outfit is doing. Because I think if you've got a nice like if you got a nice piece like a transponder on your chest or something like that, maybe you've got
Mhm.
a helmet or a hat that's got like an antenna piece, which is totally like seen and done.
Mhm.
You might not need then something on your pouch and
Mm.
on your bag and on your side.
Yeah.
You need areas of like low so that the areas of high can shine. The same
Yeah.
with like you need areas of clean in order for your areas of dirty to shine as well.
Mhm.
Um, everything in balance.
Everything in balance. Which takes us to our next episode, which is the Great Greebly debate.
The gravely debate. But I think that covers bags and pouches, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, and I mean, there's so many good examples out there. You've like from the original trilogy, you've got like Luke has his little hip pouches from the
Yeah.
farm, right? Like where he's got all of his like he's got that grappling hook that he uses right in the Death Star.
Yeah.
Like, oh wait, I just happen to have a grappling hook, which is totally I think a farm kid move growing up on a farm.
Yeah, right.
And like you've got like Han Solo has some minimal stuff going on, like,
Hmm.
and as you get into different things, I feel like the really great bags are in like Rogue One. They've
Hmm.
got some fantastic stuff going on, right? And
Yeah.
like
And the
some of our
sequel trilogy, I
shows.
think, do a lot of great
Yeah, I
stuff
think
with
they
bags.
upped
Yeah.
I think a lot of utilitarianness was upped, I think, in the more recent stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so like if you're looking for examples, like go look at those for sure
Yeah.
as kind of a good word of advice there. So
And I think
yeah.
we talked about like a long while ago now, but that the costumes back then seem like much like they seem very simple because they were
Yeah.
only going to be seen on screen. And I think now
Yes.
they're sort of upping
Yeah,
the ante because
I think
these
so.
costumes are now displayed and people want to sort of, add
See the
pieces and find these
360 and
pieces.
like
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And also
Yeah.
I think that really the streamlined 70s look, no one was walking around with like clunky backpacks and or maybe the hippies were,
Right.
but it wasn't
Right.
like that fashion movement at the time, and I think it has definitely lent itself more to our fashion movement now, whether we're getting a lot of
Hmm.
like influences, or I think we still have gotten a lot of influences from sort of like, like 1920s, Indiana Jones, honestly, like
Yeah.
a little like
Yeah.
messenger backpack, a little adventurer. Like I think
Hmm.
we still get that, or even the oh God, what is the aesthetic right now? Like what am I trying to say? Kind of like the dark academia, like right, like you've got like the
Yes.
leather messenger bag, like so I
Yes.
feel like our regular everyday lives are very built around like having your stuff with you and kind of
Hmm.
mystique around like what's in that bag. And so I think it's very much part of our fashion culture, but it
Yeah.
wasn't in the 70s, I don't think.
Right. No, I think you're right.
So yeah, so
A
I
lot
think
of
that's
very
part of it.
small bags, if bags were used at all. If
Yeah,
you think
yeah, for
about like
sure, for
nightlife and club
sure.
life, there are these tiny
Yeah.
little lipstick bags.
Yes,
You
exactly.
know?
Yeah, so it wasn't quite the, like yeah, that adventure rucksacking, like, romanticized
Right.
look, even, kind of coming from, like, even maybe, like, a Western look or something like that, so,
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, yeah, bags, like yes, I will never judge anyone on having too many bags because
I
I
think
have too
bags, I
many
think bag
bags.
it up. I think bag
Yeah,
it up. I
bag
think you
it
might need
up.
to be carrying around some stuff. I
Paper,
think, yeah.
plastic, or cotton canvas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, this is a fantastic discussion. I would be interested to hear like what are your favorite bags? Like what are you using for Batu? What are you using for Comic-Con? Because let me tell you, when I'm in the Hot Slayer look, I wish I had a bag.
Hmm.
Or
Nowhere to
pockets.
nowhere to
Like
fit
there
fit a
are
bag
those
there.
outfits that you're like, I really need a bag to go with this. So
Yeah.
they're indispensable. So well, Billy, where can folks find you?
I'm at Billy Maddox over on Instagram. Come find me.
Awesome. I am over at One Scavenger's Wardrobe with underscores in between them. You can find both of us at Off the Rack Rebellion with dots in between the words. As always, thank you to Rami, our producer, and the rest of the Dad Batch crew for bringing us on board. And just remember that a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away can be right here and right now.